Yeah, welcome. We have a full house here in the Hebel am Ufer. Warm welcome from the side of Berlinale Talents. It's a great honor for us also to have the Berlinale talk, the Berlinale Homage talk here in this house in the framework of Berlinale Talents. And I would like to introduce you to Rainer Rother. He's the artistic director of the Deutsche Kinemathek, the Museum for Film and Television, and the head of retrospective of Berlinale. So please give also a warm welcome to Rainer.
Thank you, Christine. Thank you, Christine. Yes, the Kinemathek organizes the Homage, and it's a long-standing tradition now that Talents and Deutsche Kinemathek both together organize this conversation. And I'm sure you will have a very interesting afternoon now with Charlotte Rampling, and we are both very pleased to welcome the host of this afternoon now on stage. Please give a warm welcome to Peter Cowie. He will talk to Charlotte Rampling. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon again. This year's Honorary Golden Bear at the Berlinale goes to an actress who's done 130 films, almost the same as Willem Dafoe had done when he came last year and was on this stage. Two remarkable actors. And she has worked with such a wide range of great directors, from Luchino Visconti to Nagisa Oshima, from Woody Allen to Sidney Lumet, François Ozon, Laurent Conté, and most recently, Paul Verhoeven. In 2015, she won the Silver Bear here for Best Actress for her role in 45 Years. And in 2017, she won the Volpi Cup in Venice as Best Actress for her part in Hana. And we couldn't have a more distinguished or a more sophisticated guest than Charlotte Rampling. Welcome.
Thank you.
Charlotte, we were talking backstage about your remarkable father, Godfrey Rampling, who won a gold medal at the Berlin Olympic Games in the 400 meters, and had appeared already at the 1932 Olympics in Los Angeles, and then went on to be, I think, the oldest living Olympian. I think he was 100, wasn't he, when he passed away? And did you inherit any of this talent for running sport?
Well, we'll see whether I develop the talent for longevity. I've still got a bit of a way to go to 100, but I'm sort of getting on the way, so I might get there. Yeah. And I think that, yeah, it could well be in the genes, that sort of energy, because the energy of sportsmen is something that we were talking also about that backstage. We were chatting away a lot backstage. We were having a very good conversation. I'm sad that you actually couldn't hear it, but anyway, we'll try and bring that. But we were talking about athletes, and we were talking about the extraordinary. I'm just, and maybe because a bit of my father, I was actually. That's why I'm very moved about that kind of energy, that kind of the marathon they go on through their lives, sportsmen,
and the commitment.
It's actually limited in time as well, physically, and the commitment. Yeah. But we can go on longer as actors, some of us.
When you went into films you were very young, you were 19, I think, when you made Georgie Girl or started making it. Were they supportive, your parents, of that career?
They were accepting, because the 60s at that time in London, well, that's where I was. I can't say everywhere, but certainly it probably was everywhere. There was a huge youth revolution that was coming in, 20 years after the war. There wasn't much they could do. So they didn't know whether they liked it or not, really. But they just sort of said, well, I hope it makes you happy.
Well, you had a fleeting role in the knack, didn't you?
Yeah, that was the sort of the tiny bit.
Yeah, you blink and you miss you. But,
blink and miss you.
Georgie Girl really put you on the map, because although Lynn Redgrave had the title role and went on to win a great many awards for her performance there, I think that you actually steal the picture from her in many ways. It was an extraordinary moment to be alive. I mean, you had Mary Quant designing your costumes, you had the Beatles, you had the Rolling Stones, and
it was very representative of a young woman who was me at that time. The way that we were just exploding in a way that never had actually happened in that way before, because we just said, F off to everything, really. Well, this girl certainly did in Georgie Girl. They said, I'll do it my way. And that's, you know, I mean, she even gave her baby away.
Had you had any formal training when you did those films? Had you had any formal?
Not really. I mean, the training I had was a little bit at the Royal Court Theatre, but as I'd been selected, or I'd been chosen, let's say, from the knack on, people had sort of spotted me, and it was happening a little bit that way. I wasn't the only one, but we weren't trained actresses as actors were then. You know, we were a bit renegades, who we were part of being in the 60s was actually just hanging out and getting a role somewhere, you know?
Yes.
And it works for some people, and it worked for me. And so I thought, because I was working with trained actors who had all been to school, because England was very much at that time about being going to drama school, and I thought, well, I don't want to do 3 years at drama school. I haven't got time for that. I've got to do things fast. So that's when I did the Royal Court classes, and then carried on, understood a little bit about what training was. But then I said to myself, in a very proud way, but it sort of worked, you know, I think I can do this in my own way. I think I just want to interpret people and interpret situations in my own way, and I'll learn as I go along. I actually don't want to be trained.
Good for you. Georgie Girl was directed by a Canadian, Silvio Narizzano, who's pretty much forgotten today, but it was, I think, seized the vigor of the period very well in that film. So can we have the first clip, and then maybe you'd like to talk about it afterwards. You're with Alan Bates in this clip from Georgie Girl. Alan Bates was such a portal figure, wasn't he, of that British new wave, and he was in so many good films at the time.
Yeah, he was a real hero. He was an extraordinary man. Yeah, bless him.
Sometime, at some point, whether it was 68, 69, you went to Italy. Now, what provoked that? Did someone like Visconti ask your agent that he would be interested to cast you in a film? Did you go there just for private reasons, or what made you go to Italy and then do those films with Visconti and Liliana Cavani?
It was before, I went actually just before Cavani and Visconti. This is sort of, I can't remember what exactly years it was, but I was about 22 at the time, I think. And I needed to get out of England. Things had happened which were rather disturbing me, and I got an offer to do this film with Gianfranco Mingozzi in Italy. I didn't know what it was about at all, but I got the script, and it was a rather beautiful script, and I said, right, that was the trigger that sent me off to Italy. Right. And encountering the way the Italians work, and encountering the whole Italian world just completely, it haunted me. It was an extraordinary. It was like that's where I should have been. That's where I should be. Yeah. It was like it was one of those meetings, not necessarily with a man or even a woman, but with a country. It was something extraordinary happened to me. And
what was Visconti like on The Damned?
Well, he asked to see me because he'd seen this film I'd done with Gianfranco Mingozzi, which is called Kidnapping. And he'd seen Georgie Girl, which you just saw. So he saw Georgie Girl and Kidnapping, which I did. And he thought that I would be right for this part. So I went and saw him in Rome and tried to convince him not to have me, because there was no way that I could play the role that he wanted me to play, because it was a woman of 30 with children. I said, look, I've never had children, so I wouldn't know how to play a woman with children. And this is me being rather, not in any way being provocative, but this is the way that at that time I was working, and actually subsequently always ever since. I've only worked actually I've only worked with a person that could be me. I have to imagine it enough. So I couldn't imagine how it would be if I have a child, or that it wouldn't be credible. That it wouldn't be, because I was 22 in a miniskirt with hair everywhere, and I couldn't be the woman in this extraordinary situation, which was the damned, that would be credible. So he convinced me to do his film, which was a very good idea in the end. And I'm very glad. I don't think I ever was quite as cheeky as that to anybody after that, but it was rather sweet.
Was that a step up compared with people like Nerezzano, because he was one of the giants of Italian neorealism? He was a great opera director, great stage director. Was he intimidating, though, on set?
No, because he loved me, and he chose me, and he was another hero. I mean, I have these heroes, and when I say heroes, I mean really, it's not hero worship. It's just such an extraordinary feeling to be chosen in life, to have somebody want you, to have somebody actually really look at you, to have somebody that says to you, do it for me, play this scene for me. You know, I'm here, I'm watching you. You know, be beautiful for me. And it's something that you can fantasize on, because it's not about reality. It's about a moment in time when you can be absolutely something, where you don't have to be afraid at all, because you can really be. And that's what I've always wanted about this thought that I could be in this business, is that the essence of being, rather than acting somebody, I've always wanted to be someone, which is why when I said to Visconti, look, I can't be this woman because I'm not 30 and I haven't had children or this. See what I mean?
Yes, yes. And Dirk Bogarde was on The Damned, of course, and became a friend of yours. And I think when you went to the Night Porter, to some extent that was an introduction from Dirk to Liliana Cavani. You went both together to that film, and I think you insisted on a version where you could speak your own language, didn't you? There wasn't that?
Yeah.
Which I think was very important.
Well, also live sound, because they didn't do live sound in Italy then, and we're not talking about long ago. We're talking about 1969. And they didn't film in direct sound. So you never had and then they would dub it all afterwards. The actors would either dub it, or even dubbing people would dub the voice, so you could just be saying anything. It worked for some films, but it wasn't great for others.
Well, we have a clip actually where you don't say a word,
right.
but
No, but I was speaking real talk.
It's a clip that shows you by chance overhearing a conversation between a number of ex-Nazis who are trying to cover up for one of their number, and Dirk Bogarde is the concierge at this flash hotel who is somehow drawn into that. And so could we have the next clip, please? Was there time for rehearsal in Italian studios? Did they give you a decent time for rehearsal, or did you just have to go on and take one?
There's not usually rehearsals in films at all. I think the only one that I remember was Sidney Lumet in the Verdict, who actually had a proper rehearsal time of 2 weeks before the film was actually made. If not, it's problematic, because it's like you just have to throw yourself in on the moment. There's no way that you can do anything else. You can't. There's no real form of theatrical preparation for film work. You just have to do it.
Well, the theme of this year's Berlinale Talents is mistakes, making them, getting over them, how to avoid them. Have you consciously ever made a mistake in the sense of perhaps accepting a film which your agent said, oh, this is going to be great, and you go into it, the moment you arrive on the set, you feel, no, this is wrong, and then, if so, how have you surmounted that kind of problem?
You surmount that kind of problem by doing it only once and then not do it again. And then you become a bit more clever and wary and about working out how you can actually find rewarding parts in films that aren't necessarily, even as you read them, thinking going to be that great. But you within say, well, I will do this because there is something in there that will give me the feeling that I'm not cheapening myself or not, doing something just for the money or not. But that's all those sort of things I really needed not to feel because I'm too proud.
I think more than any actress of your generation, as I said in my introduction, you've worked with so many different great directors. And Woody Allen gave you a part in Stardust Memories. I think you said at the time that your movie career was rather down and you were quite prepared to perhaps throw it up and go into private life. Did that film revive you in some way? Did you feel after that, no, this is a really great director I've been working with, and I have a part to play in the future films by people like this?
I think a film career is all about actually wanting to give up. I know. I mean, I'm not saying this just for myself. I know a lot of people because when you've done a film, say with a director like Woody Allen. I'm sorry, my voice seems to be going. I hope it's nice. I don't want to go on. It's not doing. The water is not doing any good, actually. I could whisper. Should I try like this? Oh my God. That you say that there's such a. If you are that kind of actor, and most good actors are, if you're prepared to give all that you have to give for a role, when it's over, you're completely drained. It's like you've given, but you've got nothing back because the audience has not seen it. It's not in the cinema. It's nothing. You've just given and given. It's just like it's like coming out of you, and you're not having anything given back that actually sort of feeds you. And so I always have, then you go into a sort of, like writers, I'm sure, when they finish a book, you obviously have to go into a form of mini depression after that. You go into a kind of state, into a space where you think, oh God, and there's nothing maybe coming up very interesting. So you could actually, it could sort of go on for quite a long time that way. But I think some people will be able to leap back into work to stop that feeling coming on. But I haven't been able to do that. I've always thought that something else will come up, and when I'm ready, I'll actually be able to take it on, rather than saying, oh, but I must keep taking on work. I sort of I feel my way of being in the cinema, again, because I want to feel that I'm being in the cinema rather than acting out in the cinema. I thought it was because it's being for me is somehow more important and more interesting. I've always thought that even if I left the cinema for a while, which I have done on many occasions for quite, for certain amounts of time, I sort of have a feeling that somebody out there will always be somebody out there who will come and get me, like they did right at the beginning, because I never asked to be in films. Wasn't even thinking of being in films. Someone out there just came to me and said, look, I'm going to put you into this film. And after 2 or 3 films, I thought, well, this seems to be, maybe like a good idea. I need a job, and actually people say I'm quite good, and blah, blah, blah. So I have that feeling about the way I am. It has to be like a gift, Somebody has to come and say, look, here it is, the gift. This is your next gift.
Mm. Well, we're going to show a clip from Stardust Memories now, which has sort of Fellini-like overtones. Can we have the next clip, please?
It's a lovely scene.
Yeah. Was there any improvisation at all, or was it all tightly scripted?
It's scripted, and he said, but do anything with it, you improvise and do it, but in the end it's always what he said. No, can we just, go back to the other word? No, you sort of go off a little bit. And he says, no. And then in the end it's exactly his writing.
Well, working with Sidney Lumet, who was a veteran of the 50s and live television, must have been quite a contrast, and also working with Paul Newman on The Verdict, because I think Paul Newman was rather a shy man in real life, wasn't he?
Very, very shy.
Did you get on with him? Was he easy to work with?
He's not an easy man to get on with because he's so shy.
Really?
Yeah, but he's much better when Joanne is around, because she was Joanne Woodward, who was his wife, his adored wife, and so you suddenly start to he'd talk easier if she was around. It was wonderful to see, actually, because it was such a.
And you preempted what I was going to say about rehearsals. Because you said earlier that he gave time for rehearsals, and I'd noted that, and I think this is quite obvious in the clip we're going to show from The Verdict. That is a beautifully rehearsed scene when he starts chatting you up in the bar.
So we're having chatting up with Woody Allen and then chatting up with Paul Newman, are we?
Give your voice.
That's what I was doing in the 70s and 80s and maybe a bit 90s. Being chatted up by all these wonderful men.
So can we have the next clip, please?
Next one.
Yes. Give your voice a rest, please. You could have stayed in Hollywood after films like that. You could have actually moved to Los Angeles permanently and made a name as an expat British star. But I believe you went to school in both England and France. And so when you came back to Europe after that, you, I think, tended to work more in France. Was that deliberate? Was it a particular director like François Ozon, for example, who approached you and gave you a part, and then you decided to really put down roots there and make your base Paris?
I think where you make bases, or where you dig a nest for a while, is about, well, with me, it was about who I fell in love with, and then who I had children with, and then which country did they come from, and how we would share it. And the first one about France was when I was there because I fell in love with Jean-Michel Jarre. Then we had children there, and we decided to live there, and so I wasn't going to go to Hollywood. I mean, even when I did the film with Woody Allen, I said to Woody, because I just had a baby, and I said, I can't come even to New York. He said, what? You can't come to New York? You can't come and do my film? And I said, no, I've got a baby, I've got a husband, I've got a life here. I'm not going to just uproot. So he said, well, we're going to have to find a way to do it. And the way we did it was, because he wanted me to come and go during Stardust Memories. Have we seen Stardust Memories? No, we haven't.
Yes. Yeah, we've seen it, yes.
Oh, yeah, we did. Yeah.
On the beach.
Yeah, we did, on the beach. So it ended up, because he said this is an experimental film in black and white, because it's actually a very unusual film of Woody Allen. I think it's one of his finest, because I'm in it, of course, but not really. So he wanted me to come and go. So the Concorde was working then very well. You remember that beautiful aeroplane that Air France and British Airways had, and so I would literally come and go, so that I could be making my film with Woody Allen, having a wonderful time with him, and also having a wonderful time being a mum and being with my husband and all that. So it's very much about having a life as well. We all have to be able to work in films and also have a life.
Yes,
that's what I'm saying.
Exactly.
Whether that makes any sense. But thank you.
But being bilingual, as you are, and I assume you were from a very early age,
yes, I was,
has been a huge advantage. Obviously.
Well, for making French films, for sure. Yeah.
Yes.
But I'm only bilingual in one language. It could have been useful, perhaps, in what could it have been useful other than, well, I've made a bit in Italian, a bit in Spanish, because you can sort of you can sort of make your way.
But I've noticed in some films where the Sud, you speak both French and English. If you're lying on the beach with some people, you'll break into French and then you'll break back into English.
It's very clever.
Quite easily. But how did you meet François Ozon, and how did he give you this wonderful part in Swimming Pool? Sorry, Under the Sand, the first one.
Under the Sand, yes. That was, in fact, one moment when I was just thinking, really, that cinema was going very, very far out to sea for me. I didn't, not because I wasn't getting offers, but I just was wanting to be somewhere else in my head and not make films. And he through my French agent, she said, I do want you just to meet this one director, because I just feel that you might get along, and he's done short films, which I thought were very interesting. And when I met François Ozon in a French cafe, I had a coup de foudre. I thought, this is just an enchanting man. He was 32 at the time. I was in my 50s. And he wanted to make a film about me, in a way. Yeah. Which was...
flattering. Yeah.
Very flattering.
Yeah.
Yeah. He sort of the film was about an incident that he had lived through, which was the disappearance of a man in the sea. The wife was on the beach and she saw her husband go into the sea, and then he disappeared. But it was about coming back into my life as a woman, and into my life as a film woman. The two worked, and that's what he wanted to do. I mean, he didn't say it like that, but that's what it became.
Yes.
He was doing it for his reasons, I was doing it for mine, but we became like brother and sister, because he's just a wonderful man. I just really, really love him.
And I think in Swimming Pool, from which we've got a clip, he sort of makes you, he makes your mature sexuality very, very appealing in a way that doesn't demean you at all, that actually enhances you. And that's quite a remarkable thing, I assume, for an actor, to have a director who can do that and who can make you feel...
Sounds awful. It sounds
awful.
Like, yeah, some kind of, I don't know, it just sounds the way you say it. Actually, I was quite embarrassed. The mature sort of sexuality of it. But I suppose you're right, yeah.
Well, so many... But
I just sort of don't see things like in that way. Mm.
Think of all the problems that people like Betty Davis and Joan Crawford had when they got to their 40s. They weren't being offered roles anymore. Mm. And the idea that everyone had to be very young. Yeah. And that has fortunately changed. But I mean, I think you have really...
No, but it still is better when you're young, Peter, come on.
Well,
all right, so I got away with it in my 50s in Sulisar, but I think that's about it.
Yeah, but then the 13 years since we sat with each other at the Talents, the 13 years, your career has actually accelerated rather than decelerated, which is remarkable.
Yeah, but not doing those scenes.
No, not doing those scenes.
Actually, no, I didn't need to do them anymore, so maybe that's the way it accelerated. And we could think about other things. Mm.
Well, let's see the clip from Swimming Pool, please. Next clip, please. Thank you. I think one of your greatest gifts is the way that you can give a look to the camera that suggests a change of mood with a sensitive smile here or a raised eyebrow there, a slight change of expression. Do you find that the cinema can allow you to do that, whereas if on the stage it's much harder because you're much further away from the audience?
Yeah, I think cinema acting is about that, what you just said. It's about conveying all sorts of different emotions, but in a minimalistic way, because you don't need very much. The camera doesn't like you to move around your face very much. The camera loves you just to be quite still and to think thoughts, and it's almost like those thoughts come through. And some faces have that, more than others. So it's not so much about acting that again. It's just about what you are able to portray through your body and out through your eyes. How you're able to how the camera can catch that. And I don't know what that is, whether it's photogenic qualities or whether it is actually really catching, very much what you are feeling. I don't know what, but But cinema acting is very much about that. Cinema acting is about doing the minimum and getting the maximum effect.
And you might change it from take to take. You might raise one eyebrow on one take and the other eyebrow on the next take.
Well, that's what you do. Otherwise, you don't give your director a variety, do you? You're just staring. If you're just staring, But I've always loved the relationship with the camera. I've just loved that because I know that the camera loves me, and that happened I didn't think I was in any way particularly good looking. I don't think sort of supposedly beautiful people do. They don't actually really think that they're... But then when the camera actually gets you, you sort of see, oh, well, that is a face that's actually working on screen, and that's actually, it's talking to me, it's doing stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
But you don't know that until you're actually photographed or filmed. You don't. Now people are photographing and filming themselves a lot, so they can see that. So you can all be actually getting into it. But before we didn't have all those instruments to be able to do that. And I remember the first time I saw myself on screen, I thought, oh, I see. I see what people were talking about, because people were saying, oh, your eyes, or what comes through your eyes, or what comes through your state of being by being there, and you can actually see it.
Yes.
And it's a good feeling. But then you forget about it because you're just you being, being who you are. You don't think, oh, I am being that person that I'm seeing. Because I don't think it's a very good thing, although actors do it a lot now because the material is there, the equipment is there. I don't think you should not watch yourself after you've done scenes on those little screens that they have.
What about directing? Have you been tempted by that?
No.
No.
I'm far too lazy to organize a world of others.
Yeah. One of the films which we haven't got a clip from, which I like very much, is by Laurent Conté, Vers le Sud, where you go with a party of friends to the Caribbean. It's Martinique or Haiti.
It's Haiti. We were actually in the Dominican Republic, but it was set in Haiti.
And you lie around on the beach, and you that's where you mix the languages a lot. And I think you're able to suggest almost two kind of nationalities there, actually, in some of those scenes very effectively. Laurent Conté's finally got his due, I think, when he won the Palme d'Or in Cannes. But a very self-effacing director, really.
Yeah, and a very tormented man too. He's in.
Well, when we, 4 years ago at the Berlinale, when 45 years came along, I remember everyone wanted to see it, but we didn't know much about it, and then suddenly it was shown, and it really was such a stunning film because it reunited you with Tom Courtenay, who was of your generation, and to talk about shyness. I mean, Tom Courtenay was one of the shyest men I've ever met when he was young, but he's so good in that role, and you're like foils for each other. It's just, for those who haven't seen it, it's a married couple who've been married for 45 years, and suddenly an old flame of the husband dies in Switzerland, and it's clear to his wife that that woman meant a great deal to him, possibly more than to her. And I think there's a gathering force throughout the film which really is most impressive and really gave you almost a new lease of life to your career. I mean, you got the Oscar nomination and all the prizes, Silver Bear here. When you got that script, were you wary of it? Were you delighted that this is something?
No, I knew it would be something special. I didn't know it would actually please people as much as it did, because it's a film that nobody actually didn't like that film. Because I say that because I don't usually read reviews, but I asked after a while, like, they all seem to be so good, so I asked Jean, my agent, I said, well, we'll send them if they're good, why not? And there was she said, well, I said, but not the good one, just send me everything, because it seems to be rather extraordinary, this. And it was. There was something happened in that film that was universal, completely universal. It was taken in by everybody in a way that was not only profound, but also people were very moved, very, very moved by it. It was speaking a language that was understood everywhere.
And in terms of lines, possibly your biggest role. in terms of the number of lines. I mean, you were on screen most of the time, and you were dialogue.
What a thing to say. Why would you say that?
Well, I was thinking, what a
in terms
demanding
of lines,
role.
well, what does that mean?
What it means, it's so demanding. I was thinking it's such a demanding role. It never let up.
It's a role, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
It's a role, but it just seems that quantitative and comparing in that way seems rather unfair.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's see the clip. And
okay.
when you're confronting your husband, having one of the various rows in the film, but this is quite a serious one. We have the last clip, please. Wonderful. It's a wonderful scene. It's very moving. You've just finished a film with Paul Verhoeven, Charlotte. Can you tell us a little bit about it? It's in post-production, I think. Is it a period piece, or is it...
Yeah, it's 17th century, in a nunnery. That's all I can say.
But Ken Russell's The Devils sort of thing.
There's a lot of stuff going on.
Okay.
A la Verhoeven.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you rely on an agent to weed out scripts and then send them to you, or do you take phone calls from directors themselves who might say, "Look, Charlotte, I would love you to be in this film," and then you say, "Well, send me the script." But do you choose a film on the basis of a director, of a script?
Most times, directors or producers will send to an agent, my agent Jean, in London. And she will never say, if she reads it before, what she thinks. She waits until I read it, and then we discuss it. So we always have a lot of empathy around what we're going to choose, because I get quite a lot of scripts, but obviously there's not that many you're going to do, because they're not just in the end suitable.
What's your feeling about the Netflix, Amazon revolution, the idea that many great directors now working for companies that essentially probably will not show the film in a cinema, but will show it to millions of people on their home televisions and so on? Does that make a difference to the kind of film, do you think?
No, I don't think it does. I think the support is really not actually what it's about anymore. I think it's wonderful if you like to go to the cinema, and films can go into the cinema, but there's also so many other ways of seeing work. I think the important thing is for work to be seen. And if it goes straight onto your own home box or home movie, okay, I don't mind that at all. I think it's all part of the progress, the moving on. Cinema will always exist, but.
Do you consciously try and limit yourself to 2-3 films a year, or can you literally go from one from the other?
No, I don't like doing that, but sometimes it happens a little bit like that, because you can't sort of. It's usually about two a year. Yeah.
Well, I think we've got time for questions from the audience, and we've got microphones in the aisles, and I'll try and remember everyone upstairs too. So if you can, I've already seen someone over there, Red, and if you can ask your questions in English, and then once you've got the mic, you can go. So please.
Thank you, Ms. Rampling, for this talk. It was really very insightful. You said that acting is pretty much about wanting to give up, and that you're really exhausted by the end of the film, and it's logical because you keep on giving and giving and not receiving anything. I can stand up so that you can see me. So my question is, I guess, a bit existential. I'd like to ask, what is the joy of it for you? Like, it is clear for me what is the joy of it when you're acting on stage. It is the reaction of the public. Then what is the joy of it for you for acting on screen? And has it always been the same thing, or has it changed over the years? Thank you.
I think filming for me is a way of life. It's a way of surviving. It started very young. I started at 17. And then when things happened in my life that got really difficult, I said that I know that I will carry on doing this, because this is my survival through films. not survival necessarily as a whole person, but survival in a sense of having a construct somewhere, having something constructive around me. Even though when I say at the end, the construct, you think, yeah, but I've given everything, I've not got it back. Yeah, that's to a certain extent, but you can get that back. Obviously you get that back, because that's in a sense, that's not a reality. That's also a sort of just a way of feeling for a while, and then you come out of it and you go on. But the actual, when you ask what do I get out of it, I don't know whether I get very much out of it apart from a way of life. And a way of life is full of ups and downs and joys and fears and difficulties and contradictions, and it's all about that. It's all about that, because we're, in a way, inventing a life in a film, and so you're actually you're living all those contraintes, as you say in French, the sort of things that aren't going so well, and it's, oh dear, and it's so uncomfortable, and I don't like being here, and I hate this hotel, and I don't really like the people we're working with, but I have to put up with them, and then we have to do this, and then we have to do that, and it's cold, and I have to wear all these hot clothes, and it's hot, and I have to wear all these little bikinis, and I'm freezing, and all this, and it's all wrong. It's not about being right, it's all about being wrong, and you have to pretend that it's all right. So all that is where it's tiring and difficult and not much joy. But in that, as you get in life, is a huge amount of extraordinary, wonderful things that happen as a result of that. And so on you go. And I know that I would never not do it, because I've tried not doing it. And in the end, I know I have to go back, because it is my life.
Thank you.
Do you have a question from upstairs? Anyone upstairs? Huh? Yes, over there.
What attracted you about the part of Hana?
The rigorousness of the character.
Okay.
Okay, does that satisfy you? Okay.
Yeah, no.
We can be very quick.
Another question? Down here, down at the back, I have, yes, two, but that's, yes.
Should I go first?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. Hello.
Hello.
I know this is a hard question, but you worked with so many directors and different approaches throughout the time, and I'm just wondering what comes to your mind first. What would you tell the young directors? Like, make sure to do or not to do?
There's no way that you can tell somebody what to do or not to do at all. I'm afraid there's no rule, because it's about human connection. It's about you and me. It's about you and me. It's about, are we actually going to sort of get along? Do we want to do this? Do we not want to do this? It's about, a director is just a person. And they come to you and they say, well, this is the story I want to make. I say, well, what you've written this story, but what have you done as a director? Can I see what you've done? Oh, well, I haven't really done very much. I've just done a couple of short films. All right, show me the couple of short films. So you see the couple of the short films. And then you have more talks with the young director, and you sort of think about things. And then there's something maybe that starts to happen. You say, I think I'd like, again, with rather what you say, we talked about joy. You sort of think, maybe I'd just like to work with this guy or this girl. This just seems, I'd like to do this. I like this, like the feel of this story, and I like the way that they're sort of engaging in the way they want to make it. I think it could work. It's all you go, and that's all it is. From an actor's point of view, that's all it is. The director's got another whole agenda going on, but the actor, is the actor going to connect with the director and want to do it? Why?
Someone over this side, yes, the gentleman with glasses in the third row from the back.
Good evening, I'm an actor. To me, one of the most important things to make my roles is to be peaceful inside, to have, for example, my English is not very good, but for example, if I do something wrong, this damage my acting capacity somehow. But when I feel that I do everything good, even in my life, I do more easily everything. I just I fly.
You flow, you fly. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm easy. You have this problem.
It's about confidence, isn't it? Sometimes we're really confident and we could feel we can do anything, and sometimes we feel like a load of shit, you know. So that's, you know, there's nothing really there's no remedy for that other than, you know, accepting it.
Turning off.
Because it's going to happen. You have to. We live in opposites. We live in contrast. We live in being one thing and then another thing. Especially from the acting point of view, because you have to go right up and then you have to come right down. You have to literally just be like that immediately. You have to. It's like asking your psyche and your body and your whole structure to perform really in an inappropriate way. So you're not going to have a smooth ride if you want to be an actor, that's for sure. But it's worth it.
Another question? Yes, the striped.
Yay! Hello. I love what you said about becoming a character and not acting one. I so can relate to that, and I'm struggling recently with trying to find connection and truth within. I'm an only child, and I'm playing a sister. And I wonder, how do you go about finding the truth in a character that you can personally relate to?
Ah, you're talking about the Visconti thing, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. I don't know. It's really up to your deep imagination and your deep, the deep sense of creativity that you have inside yourself, that you believe that you can have, so that you could actually imagine and bring up that you are that person. It's really, it's the intensity that you can bring up inside yourself as to what your vision can be, and then just be it, you know? Because nobody's going to know, except they're going to say, hey, sister, you know, yeah, that is, you are the sister. They're going to believe in you. And you're saying, yeah, but I've never actually been there. It doesn't matter, because it's all there. It's all in your past, and it's in wherever you come from. It's actually all living in you anyway. You just have to connect up with it, because you believe that you can.
Thank you. And can I ask you quickly, would you ever consider doing a part in a language that you maybe can't speak yet, like in Polish, maybe?
Oh, what have you got in mind?
I'll ask you after.
I'd love to, but it wouldn't work. No. Okay. No.
Have you been dubbed into another language?
No, I hope so.
Yeah, in Italian.
I hope I've gone around the world in real odd languages.
I'm thinking, going back to the Night Porter, where Dirk Bogarde said we really got to have a version in our own language.
Yeah.
It's more authentic when you feel that the people are going to hear what you said and not what some actress in a booth in Rome.
Well, but that you'll never know. That'll happen all over the place, because I mean, in Germany, you hear my voice dubbed all the time. You hear in Czechia, in Hungary, and they all. Unless you, I think they're better, actually. I think you're better here and in other countries of having subtitles, because I really hate dubbed films. But I mean, it does mean that people can see films who can't, read the subtitles, or so you can't say, I don't want that, because you've got to allow people to have the possibility of seeing films in other languages.
There's probably someone in Germany who actually does all your parts.
Possibly, yeah possibly. But as you say, I don't speak many words.
Don't speak words.
So it's easy.
John Wayne had someone in France who did all his dubbing all throughout his career.
Yeah.
And finally they met one day.
That's lovely. That sort of works, if it's always the same person.
Yes.
Yeah.
This gentleman, third row in the middle. If you wait for the mic.
I can yell. Could you pass it? I was just going to ask you about this film from a long time ago called Farewell, My Lovely. There's a scene when you meet Robert Mitchum in that movie, and then at the end of that scene, you break into a laugh that looks very private somehow, totally out of the scene. Do you maybe remember why was that, and how was working with Robert Mitchum, who was amazing?
I don't remember about the laugh. Did you say it was inappropriate to the scene? You thought that they caught it off? Was kind of, I mean, they don't do that in films. I mean, everything is absolutely controlled.
I got that feeling for everything you said tonight, but this particular scene, it's just at the end. You're sitting, and then your husband peeks in the room.
Okay, well, I'll have a look. I'll get back.
And then you break into this laugh that is totally like between you and him, like totally. Anyway, so how was working with Robert Mitchum?
Robert Mitchum is one of the greats. Yeah, Robert Mitchum is something. Yeah. And I mean, I had a few, haven't I? Haven't I? I've had some
those
wonderful
hooded
ones.
eyes.
But Robert Mitchum is just, he's just because he's absolutely, he's a very brilliant man. He's a very educated, very sensitive man, but he sort of shrouds all that in huge forms of alcoholism and talk and big talk. But when he comes down to, he's just a remarkable person. I don't know how to describe people to people. When people ask me that, I don't know what to say. You know, because they're good. I mean, what am I going to say? Oh, the anecdotes. No, I can't. They're not for public consumption.
He's famous also for being first arrested for marijuana.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, you're not going to draw me out here.
Let's just say he lived life to the full.
He lives life to the full.
Yeah. Another question?
Yes.
This lady in third row.
Mrs. Rampling, how it was working with your sons, and will you do it again? And sorry, I'm here. Sorry, I'm here.
Oh, yeah.
Third row.
And you did chanting. You chant anymore, and you like to chant perhaps of your own?
Chant?
Singing, sorry.
Oh, singing, yeah.
Yes.
Well, we all like to sing, I think. We should all sing. And I think most people sing much better than they actually think that they can. And I did make a record. I didn't, again, want to sing, but somebody came and got me and so I trained my voice and sung, and it was great. Yeah, it's a good thing to do. Singing is absolutely... That makes you happy. If you want joy, you can sing. Yeah, you can sing joy, yeah. And then what was your other question?
Are you playing any instrument?
I play the piano, yeah.
Piano, okay. And it was working with your sons. How it was, and will you do it again, perhaps?
No, it was awful. Absolutely not to be done. No. Can you imagine being directed by your son? Bless him.
Another question up there, right at the back, at the top.
Thank you for this great talk. I'm one of the talents in script writing, and I was wondering if you could talk about your work with the script. Like, do you change lines? Do you, improvise and stuff like this?
Who's talking there, sorry?
Up here.
Balcony.
Oh,
Right
up on the balcony.
Hello.
Oh, hello. Yeah, got you. Yeah, it depends. There is work that I like doing that. I like sort of doctoring things or the part if I feel it's just not quite got, the ingredients that it needs or something, and I've done that. And if the director allows you to do that and you work with him and the scriptwriter, it's...
Even for weeks? Like weeks before the shoot or at the set?
No, but before. This is absolutely before. In fact, before I'll probably decide to do the role, I'll say, well, it really does need a little bit of... yeah, it just things, and I have quite a feel for it, and so if the director and writer are up for it, then it can work. Sometimes they maybe not want to, and that's fine. So I'll either pass by. But if they are, I like to work with them. Yeah, that can happen, because quite often in screenplays they'll be more concentrating on certain of the other roles, and if it's a secondary role, they'll just have some. It won't sort of quite be rich enough inside. It'll just be, you know, it would just be sort of a secondary role that's feeding the leads, you know, so you can bring into it just touches. I'm not talking about many things. It's just small things that just bring it out, you know. It's often very small things that you need, actually. It's often in screenplays, for a good screenplay writer, it's not much that needs to be just to...
And improvisation?
Improvisation, no. Most people don't like that, actually. Most directors don't like that. And if the script is good, there's no reason to improvise. Their words are good, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But sometimes, I'm sure it's never happened to you, but sometimes you might fluff a line, but you might fluff it in a way that actually works for the director. You might say, well, let's keep this because it's so natural.
Not often that happens.
Doesn't
We go back to the Woody Allen story, because sometimes it was, but he said, you know, just you know, you ad-lib. Well, I sometimes it was really good what I did. Yeah. But, you know, no, he didn't want it, in the end, his own. You know, they're the directors. They're writing their world. They're creating their world, and they want it exactly as it is, as they've conceived it. With the writer.
Another question? Right here, yes. This lady.
You have starred in many films and worked with different personalities. What do you think of the Me Too debate? And is there some advice that you would give to young actresses in film business?
No.
Good. You're taking the fifth on that one.
Each one for his own.
Yes. Other question?
Yeah.
Over there.
Thanks for the support in my corner. Ms. Rampling, thanks for your honest answers so far. I really admire the way you tell that acting is more than a job to you, but apart from that, you also really value your private life and somehow manage to keep those somewhat separated. I'm pretty sure most actors at some point face difficulty doing that. And without trying to challenge you to become personal, but more on a advice level, what can you say as an artist like acting, where you say you have to be real? What can you say about keeping your own life separate from, quote, your job?
I think it's about when you're working, and if you're working on a film or the stage is different, because the stage is sort of somehow more civilized. It's more manageable, the stage work, because you're there. You'll probably be in the town that you're living in, and it's more of a regular job. And you go off for work at night, and you come back, so you have your home life and you have your stage life, and there's something that's controllable there and quite actually agreeable. It's like a job, you know, but it's a very interesting creative job. But with filming, it's like filming just takes you over, and it's like comes in like a vampire and just gets you and takes you away, and actually wants to take you away from everything that really you are as a normal person with your family and the town that you live in and all that. So you've got to. I realized it was going to be a huge challenge that for me. And I said, but if I want to be in films, I'm going to really have to somehow make it work. And I don't really know. I can't really give you an idea what to do. But I think probably what I did, and also with my husband at the time, who's a musician, we led a very simple life. When we weren't working, when he wasn't doing concerts and I wasn't actually doing filming. Filming, all right, you go out and you have to bear all that. And I say bear all that, it sounds silly, but you know, you have to cut yourself off to a certain extent. Although I remember with my children, if you have children, I always used to come back. I never used to stay away too long. And even with Woody Allen and the Concorde and thing, I would literally say, no, I mean, more than a week or two, I have to go back, even if it's for 2 days or something. I need to be back, because otherwise I'm just completely disconnected. So there's those sort of things I put down when the children especially were young. And then when we were in a family, we were just family. I didn't go out and do, you know, film parties. I wasn't part of the film scene. We were just, you know, that's all I can say. And that's what I knew I had to do to be able to survive in the film business. And for all of us not to be affected by it. Also my kids not to be sort of, you know, film kids, you know, who are sort of, well, we know what a lot of kids have to put up with in that business. Yeah. Mm.
Thank you. Have another question upstairs, maybe? Yes, someone right in the middle there under that. You see where the up at the top right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi. I was wondering which kind of film do you usually watch? If you are a series junkie and
I can't see her.
Here.
You're all pointing where? Whoop. What?
Here, upstairs.
Oh, got it. Yeah.
It's the lights.
Yes, it's the lights. Yeah. Yeah, I got her.
And there are some directors that you are really wanted to work with, like Spanish directors, Latin American directors.
I don't know, because I have to wait until they come and see me, and I can't go and see them. That's not part of who I am, you see. I've said this. You know, I have to be asked to dance. I can't go and ask someone to dance. So I would love, yes, if you have an Italian, tell him. Come and see me, or I don't know, an Italian. Italians, I've worked with a lot of Italians, yeah. But you know what I mean? It's like, I can't just sort of, yes, wonderful filmmakers that I love, but I'm not going to say, yes, this one, and this one, and this one, and this one. Oh, of course I would like to. Every actor would like to work with all these, with very wonderful directors. So. But, you know, they only need the people that they need. They only need the person that is going to be appropriate for their story, and that's just one person, if it's a woman, or two people. You know what I mean? You can't force an idea on someone and say, just look. Well, I suppose you can, but I can't.
Yeah, my first part of my question, it was two questions in one, sorry. It was, which kind of film do you usually watch, like a normal audience, and if you are like a series junkie as well?
Why do you want to know that? If I'm a serial junkie?
Yeah, because you know, Mr. Rampling, when you started with, for example, in Netflix, and you have like a new series, every time when it's Friday and I got an email from Netflix, you should watch this one. It's scary to me because yeah.
And it's scary to you?
Yes, of course, because it is like I'm on the way to become a series junkie.
Well, I'll tell you something, young woman.
Okay.
I don't have Netflix. So there you are.
And do you go usually like a normal people to the cinema?
You abnormal.
Popcorn?
I think you're getting borderline, honey. I think you might need help. Take care.
Let's move south. Yes, someone in the back row, in the bottom of the stalls here.
In this Homage, there is one really very amazing film, Il portiere de la notte, which I remembered it was a big scandal when it was screened, when it was premiered. And I really tried to understand that character, what this woman is going through, whether she takes somehow a revenge with, she is a victim of Holocaust, as we know, and this is a kind of a revenge, that she has again an affair with that man who tortured her, or is it a game, or is it really a result of how she was destroyed by that man? So it's really, I would like to know something, if you can say how it worked for you and what you remember of the time of the scandal of the health film.
Well, what Derek Bogard and I wanted to do with this film, which wasn't necessarily what Liliana Cavani wanted, she wanted more of an analytical portrayal of Nazi guilt, which is in there, but more as the main part story, what we wanted, and what Dirk certainly wanted, because he'd had the screenplay a long time before when he met me and I was chosen, because they hadn't found the girl yet. He said, this must be a love story, okay? This has to be a love story, however strange and however unacceptable and however difficult it is for people to understand, this is a love story. Because through the experiences that they had in the concentration camp, he doing things to her, and her becoming his slave, and he doing certain things that she could never forget, because they were in her body of a 16-year-old, and she absolutely lived through it with him, so that when she saw him again, she was compelled to go back to him, because whatever you say about relationships, or whatever you say about the love feeling, we do not know what happens between people in exceptional situations, which this was. So people can say, yes, but this could never happen, this is awful, I mean, this is just, we have to condemn these people. No, this is from a true story. This is the story, she got the idea, Liliana, from a woman, an aristocratic woman, who went every year to put flowers on the grave of her torturer. Because that's what it's about, it's the syndrome of Stockholm, we know happens in different areas, and this is one of the cases. She was compelled to go back to her torturer, Lucia, because you can say, was it love? I say yes, because that's what we wanted to put across, because if not, that film I would not have done, because it was not interesting for me to do it if it wasn't about something which was as powerful and as huge and as undeniably there as some form of love. Okay?
We have time for one more question. You've been waving around. All right. One more.
There's one in a boat out there.
Well, because there's a connection to what you just said.
Yeah.
Was it your choice to show that film tomorrow when you received the Golden Bear? Or were you asked which film you would like to show?
Yes, of course I was, from Dieter, who I know well, and the members of the selection committee. To me, that film, because of what I've just elucidated to this lady, to me, this film is symbolic of who I am also in cinema. It's very much the film that has led me, as Lucia is led by her Max, into that particular world, which is a world of absolute, to me, you can't avoid what is going to have to happen to you.
Yeah, that's true.
And there was something very powerful about that, and it keeps coming back to me. And if this film, Night Porter, is still powerful to people and to different generations, it means that it becomes a film about something very important, as to what you as a human being can read into it. And I'm saying, as I said to the lady there, I'm saying to me, this is about something which is as strong as any kind of relationship should be. It might be a bit strange, and it might be perverse, and it might be a bit dirty, and it might be a bit weird, but it's there.
Well, Charlotte, congratulations on the Golden Bear.
Thank you.
And many thanks for giving us such a wonderful evening tonight.
Thank
it's really
you very
been great.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.